boys and girls, teachers, parents, guests, and welcome to our Lieutenant Frank Lehman Baylies Centennial Celebration. Boys and girls, you had a little bit of homework to do this weekend. You had to, this past week, sorry, and you had to figure out what the word centennial meant. Does anybody know what a centennial is? What does that word mean, centennial? I can't see who's raising their hand. Mrs. Blanchard, can you pick somebody for us, please? Centennial.
It means when you get elected
Well, let's keep thinking. Centennial. What does the word centennial mean? Oh, Alex. Oh, there you are. Okay. A celebration of 100 years. So we are here today to celebrate Lieutenant Frank Baylies' 100 years. Okay? So why don't we get started with the pledge? So if we could all stand and salute the flag, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Please remain standing for our school pledge. At the Jireh Swift School, we treat each other with respect, we take responsibility for our learning, and we strive for a respectful, kind, and safe school for all. Please be seated. To welcome Frank Baylies.
Yes.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Back there, yeah. Welcome to the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War, which is called the Great War, and it was the first time that many, many nations participated. Now, my name is Frank Baylies. I am the second cousin of Frank Lehman Baylies, and I'd like to say a few words first about these aircraft. When they went to the front lines, and they usually had 2 hours of fuel to get there and back, and they usually were 15 to 20 miles back. But that changed as the lines changed. And the worst part of it was they had no parachutes. The only time they had parachutes was maybe like the last month of the war. The only ones that had parachutes they had balloonists way up front as observers, and they were in the basket underneath, maybe 1,500 feet up, and they would see what was going on and drop the message to the infantry. Did I mention my son Eric is also here? I have a bio which I sent for years, along with a photograph, and I'd like to read it. I'll find my glasses somewhere. Can you see if you can get them for me, Eric?
In here?
Okay, I got it. Frank Lehman Baylies died on June 17, 1918. Frank Lehman Baylies was born in Bedford, Massachusetts on the 23rd of September 1895, the son of Charles S. Baylies and a haberdashery owner and manager of a motion picture studio, and Lydia Terry Page Baylies. He was educated at the Friends Academy and Jireh Swift School of New Bedford and Moses Brown School of Providence, Rhode Island. Following graduation, he went to work for his father's shop as a salesman. On February 1916, Baylies joined the American Field Service and served with Section 1 in France and Section 3 in Salonia from October 1916 to 11 May 1917. On a March 1917, Baylies received the France Croix de Guerre with palms, rescuing wounded while under fire. On the 21st of May 1917, he enlisted in France's service aeronautics and trained at Avad, PA, and SDE. He received his brevet on the on November 17th, and that was his pilot's license. He flew for Escadrille 73, and then he flew for SPAD 3, and was credited with destruction of 12 enemy aircraft. He was also credited with 8 probables, and he won the France's Legion of Honor, the Croix de Guerre with palms, and the American Medal. On 13th of May 1918, he was transferred to the U.S. Air Service and was commissioned a second lieutenant. Although he had service and he declined to go in with the Americans. And he was shot down near Roulay, France, which was north of Paris on the Belgian border, and was buried there. Later on, they transferred in 1927. All the pilots from Lafayette Escadrille were reburied in Paris, France. Thank you. Any questions? Questions?
Please join me in welcoming Joseph Langois, the president of the Fort Taper Historical Society.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. I will not keep you very long. I do want to say that it's really a pleasure and an honor to be invited here today, certainly to support Frank, but also to support a true hero from New Bedford. Very few of us are going to be given that opportunity to make that choice to do something as heroic as Lieutenant Baylies did. And, his memory does need to be honored. But I do want to put in a little plug for our military museum down at Fort Taber Park. If you have not been there, I would encourage you to go. The medals that you see here, they're They're on display there, as well as all sorts of items from the various conflicts that unfortunately the United States has had to be in. But really what makes it special is that there are pictures on our walls of various veterans, the men and women who served honorably. And you can serve honorably but not having to do some of the brave things that Lieutenant Baylies done. Each of us are asked to make decisions in our lives and to do things in our lives that we're not going to get medals for, and books are not going to be written about us, but they're important that we run our lives in a positive way, that we do the right thing. And we don't necessarily follow the crowd, but we do what takes a little bit of courage. So anyways, come down to the museum. It's free of charge. It's open every day from 1 to 4, and we would love to see you. And kids, bring your parents, bring your grandparents, bring your uncles, bring whoever it is that might be interested in military history, and I think you'll enjoy it. So again, thank you very, very much for inviting us here. It's a pleasure to be here, and all of you kids have a great and safe summer. All right, bye-bye.
Now, Mrs. St. Michelle's class will join us for a presentation on the history of Lieutenant Frank Baylies.
Mrs. St. Michelle's class. Stand and come this way, please. Come this way. This way. Watch out for the camera.
Today we celebrate the life of Lieutenant Frank L. Baylies. But who was Lieutenant Baylies? He was born in New Bedford on September 23rd, 1895 to Charles and Lydia Terry Baylies. He attended elementary school right here at the Jireh Swift School Elementary School before moving to Moses Brown School in Providence, Rhode Island. In school, Baylies was known as a top athlete. He excelled in swimming. Mr. Baylies was also said to be an expert automobile driver. He learned to drive when he was still a schoolboy.
Frank took interest in the defeat of Germany even before the U.S. joined the World War I. His auto movement skill became useful at the age of 20. Mr. Baylies fearlessly joined the American Field Service, where he acted as an ambulance driver, safely executing the wounded from battlefields and delivering them to the hospital. On March 25, 1917, Frank was awarded the French Cross for rescuing wounded while under fire. After an introduction to flying, Mr. Baylies enlisted in the American Aviation School, where he completed a 6-month course. Upon completion, Frank transferred to the French Air Force. By age 22, Frank had become a boarding technician at the Art of Aerial Warfare. In a very short time, Mr. Baylies had 12 confirmed victories. He was promoted to Captain, to secretary, and then finally lieutenant.
Lieutenant Baylies was killed in action on June 17, 1918. He was awarded French Legion of Honor and the Air Club of America Award. Today we are proud to honor a hero who grew and learned in the same walls that we grew up and learned today. The Jireh Swift School, please join me in a moment of silence to honor Lieutenant L. Frank Baylies, an American hero. welcome Mrs. Aldridge's class to the stage. They will be presenting a poem by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The poem represents perseverance, one of our school character traits. Lieutenant Frank Baylies demonstrated perseverance throughout his life and career.
Often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child or a patch, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded.
Next, help me welcome the second grade students in Mrs. Tell's and Mrs. Sousa's class. They will be performing two songs, God Bless America and My Country 'Tis of Thee.
Just make sure it isn't louder than that. No, like, I gotta be up there as soon as it's starts. But this isn't so loud, so I think it'll be fine.
Now I would like to welcome Ms. Fernandes' class to the podium for a look of what life was like 100 years ago.
Our centennial celebration recognizes 100 years since Lieutenant Frank Baylies' early departure. A lot has changed in 100 years. So what was life like 100 years ago? Woodrow Wilson was President of the United States. The population of the United States was just over 100 million. The population of New Bedford was large due to the textile boom. By 1920, it had reached 121,217 people. The average household earned $1,518 per year.
The most popular style of clothing was long, narrow skirts that fell to the calf for women, and outer coats and trench-style coats for men. The pompadour hairstyle was popular among women. The latest craze of music was a new genre called jazz. The Willie Museum had just opened its doors in 1916.
Ted Williams was born on August 30th. The life expectancy was between 47 to 49 years of age. A loaf of bread cost 7 cents. The majority of Americans were male.
A new car cost around $450 and gas was about 20 cents with a gallon. The average new home cost $5,000 and it came without indoor plumbing. The average American male was 5 feet 7 tall, 7 inches tall, and 144 pounds. The most popular movies were in silent films produced by Charlie Chaplin.
There was no commercial radios or television. The Spanish flu pandemic was rampant, affecting between 50 to 100 million people. Time zones were first introduced. Daylight saving began.
The Red Sox won the World Series. The tradition of playing the national anthem at sporting events began. The Eiffel Tower was the tallest structure on Earth. The term teenager didn't exist, and only about 9% of children graduated high school.
Airmail began on May 15, 1918, between New York and Washington. My Antonia by Willa Cather was the most read book. The most popular toys were teddy bears, electric trains, Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, and Lincoln Logs. People often traveled by streetcars.
Model Ts were the most popular cars. They were also called flivvers, and they cost $500. God Bless America was composed by Irving Berlin, the unofficial national anthem. Modern conveniences included toaster ovens and zippers, also called separable fasteners. Oreos had just been introduced by Nabisco a few years earlier.
To continue our presentation, Ms. Lawrence's class will recite a poem called The Man Who Thinks He Can by Walter Leno. The theme of the poem is tenacity, another one of our character traits. Mrs. Jessel's room to the stage. They will remind us of all the many reasons to appreciate the Jireh Swift School. At this time, I'd like to invite the third grade students from Mrs. Blanchard and Mrs. Condy's room to the stage for the dedication of our school garden.
Could I have the third graders just stand, please? They are responsible for planting the vegetables that are in our garden dedicated to Lieutenant Frank Bailey.
Lieutenant Frank Baylies was a hero, and he began his educational journey right here at the Jireh Swift School. We are proud to remember Lieutenant Baylies and even more proud to dedicate our school garden to him. We hope this garden will grow each year, not only provide beauty and learning opportunities, but also opportunity to give back to our community. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to present the Jireh Swift School Baylies Garden.
You are all invited to go out and take a peek at after the ceremony, and there are some refreshments in the office right next door.
We hope you enjoyed our Lieutenant Franklin Lehman's Bailey's celebration. Please welcome Ms. Federino to the stage for closing statements.
Thank you very much. Wow. So we're actually going to have Mr. Fernando, he'll pull down our screen, and so that way we can at least see some of our pictures that we've been taking in the process of our new school garden. So while we're doing that, it was just a short year ago that I became the new principal here at the Jireh Swift School, and as I entered this building without staff or students, I walked around to get acclimated with the building, and it was just so amazing to me, the pictures that we have, the structure of the building, the wooden floors. I knew that it was filled with rich history, but I didn't quite know 9 months ago at the time how rich and full of history this building is. And so it was just amazing to me that I was walking on floors, I was standing in rooms looking up at the beautiful structure of the ceilings, and I was smiling in the hallways that have been here and have shared with staff and students for the past 109 years. So our building has a birthday this year, and it's 109 years old. So, and it's still such a beautiful place to be. And then I got to learn through the plaques, and thanks to Arthur Mata, that one of those students that we've been celebrating today, Lieutenant Frank Baylies, in honor of his centennial, was a student here at Swift. So every day and every week I learn more and more about this building. We're going to research these pictures next. Correct, Mr. Mata? Yeah, right. And so one thing that I did learn, and our grades have been bringing this up throughout their speeches and their poetry and their songs and their messages, is that Lieutenant Baylies, as I have learned through all of our research, was tenacious, brave, and demonstrated perseverance, which describes our students here at the Jireh Swift School. So without further ado, here are our pictures of our garden, which is in place. We had our playground there, which was actually falling apart, and so we removed it, and the staff, and with some of the help of student ideas and parents' ideas, what can we put there? So we decided to make it into a learning garden, and it is being dedicated to Lieutenant Frank Baylies. So please feel free to go back there and visit. If you can't today because of the rain, please come back and see all the hard work that are, and I'd like to thank a lot of our families for their donations, for their time, our students for helping. We could not have done this without it being a school community to get this garden complete, and we did it relatively quickly. Yes, yes, so thank you. And that concludes our ceremony. Oh, you would like to, oh, just 1 second? Mr. Baylies? Sure. Why don't we do it this way? Okay.
I would like to thank the boys and girls for the fine presentation this morning. I really appreciate it. I also have a present here somewhere.
What was it?
Okay. I have a copy of a photograph that I usually send to people who, for years and years, been wanting his autograph, and I send them a bio and this picture, and I want to present it to the principal of you.
Oh, thank
I
you
hope it'll
so
hang
much.
in it.
Yes. Thank you very much, and that concludes our ceremony.